What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Aiming Up with Kenneth and Trey. With us today is a good friend and someone I view as like a father figure and mentor to me, Bruce Osgood. So he works with a men's retreat called the Wild Adventure. It's something I went to last year, and I'll give you a bit of a background. So anyone that's followed me knows that if I do a podcast or a live or knows me personally, I'm pretty open with my own struggles. So last year was like a really good year business wise and things weren't great, but I would say I was probably at my lowest mentally. And there was a few stints where I was really struggling. And the one that really got me connected with the Wild Adventure was around March or April last year. And I uh, was struggling mentally just with a lot of stuff going on. There's nothing really bad going on. Life was great. I think it was just one of those low points, and I'm sure Kenneth and Bruce can relate. And I had actually disappeared for about 5 or 6 hours with the plan to either commit suicide or walk into Dublin Springs, which that's the local psych place here. And when I got to that point, that's where I had a conversation with my wife and my counselor, and I was ultimately given the ultimatum: either A, we have to inpatient you and make sure you're getting the proper help so you're here, or we need you to go on a men's retreat. And obviously, I picked the men's retreat. And I can tell you, it was the biggest life changing thing I have ever went through. It's really something. It's really something that I would argue if it wasn't for that trip, I probably wouldn't be here. And that's why I'm always eternally grateful for the retreat in general, but guys like Bruce and some of the other guys that I really view as their father figures. So I wanted Bruce to take time to introduce himself, talk about the history, because it is something that this show isn't just about fitness and bodybuilding and health. It's about the mental health, the spiritual health, and just aiming up as men and or women. And I think this is something that's not talked about enough. I know there's tons of men that I know personally that struggle with a lot of the stuff that I was struggling with last year. And my hope is that this podcast goes over the right way, where, if anything, some of you men and younger guys will look into the Wild Adventure. Some of you guys will take the time to do the research, maybe give it a shot, or maybe you know someone in your life that it could benefit them. So I'm going to pass it over to Bruce, and I'll let you take it over, man, and then we'll chime in as needed.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much for having me on. Um, this Wild Adventure is founded and funded by a guy named Jan Janura. And Jan was he worked with Young Life for a lot of years and then decided Young Life wasn't for him. So he went to the next natural thing, women's clothing. And he made, uh, his current wife was his business partner, and she was phenomenal. They made a lot of money, but he always had a heart for men's hearts. That was his big interest. And so I met him in 1985 through a common friend, and he and I went fishing together in California a bunch, and then we went to Alaska on a couple of trips, and they were sort of the wild adventure type trips, but not exactly. He brought in guys to do what he called the spiritual dump, and guys would talk to us, and away we went. So in 2001, Jan came across John Eldridge's book, Wild at Heart, and he picked it up and read it, and he read it on a plane flying home, and he wrote in the beginning inside of the book about 50 names of guys he was going to send the book to, and I was one of them. And so I got the book and I read it. I didn't really like it, but I read it. And but Jan said, "Man, this is it. I need to get something going." So he decided to buy a ranch, and he flew over, I think, 150 ranches in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. And he came to this one ranch, and he thought, man, this is it. They landed, they went down, and as he was going across the bridge, there was a moose in the river, and he thought the moose was smiling. So he said, I'm going to name this the Smiling Moose Ranch. So he did, and he built a lodge there and cabins, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous place to get away from everything, and just the beauty of nature is tremendous. So that was kind of his deal. I was a school principal. I was a teacher and a principal, and in 2000, about 2001 or two, I went through a divorce, and it wrecked my life. And in 2006, I was at the lowest point in my life, much like you, Trey. I didn't know if I was going to be around. And Jan called me out of nowhere and said, "Hey, you want to go fishing at the Trude Lake in Idaho?" And I'd heard about it. I said, "Yeah, absolutely. That's the best fly fishing anywhere." And so he said, "Great, come on up, and we're going to read Wild at Heart and talk about it, and we're going to tell our stories." And I said, "Well, Jan, if it's okay with you, I just like to fish, all right?" He said, "Fine." I should have known something was up then, because Jan never lets anybody do what they want. But he said, "Yeah, fine." So I went up and spent time with guys, and got into the discussions. And it, on the third day, he sent us out into the woods and said, "Go outside and see if God has anything to say to you. See if you can hear him." I said, "Really? God talking to me? Okay." So I went out and I said, "Hey, God, I haven't talked to you in a long time, because I had literally walked away from God for those years." I said, "God, I haven't talked to you in a long time. If you don't want to say something to me, I don't blame you." And what I heard was, "You're my son and I love you." Wow, wow. And I wept, and I haven't stopped weeping.
Yeah.
But it changed my life completely. Uh, Christ took my life back, and I changed. I went back up to the Moose and a couple times, and then Jan asked me to wingman for him, so I did that, and have done that for, I don't know, since 2010. And I convene trips and lead it. And the great thing about the Wild Adventure is we don't lecture, we don't preach, we don't force people to do anything. We do everything through questions. So you read Wild at Heart, we pull a chunk out of it, and then we ask people questions about it. And people are free to share whatever they want. They share their life stories. Again, share whatever you want. Whatever is true, share that. And nobody's going to force you. Nobody's going to try to fix you. Nobody's going to tell you you're full of crap. Just know everybody's going to let you talk and be who you really are. And that's amazing for guys, because they don't get that chance. Most guys have been wounded, and they kind of build walls up, and they hide behind the walls, and they pose. They convey themselves as something other than who they really are. But we try to get guys to be real, and to really share. In addition to that, there's great fly fishing up there. We fish the Madison River, which is beautiful, 2 days, and then there's 7 private lakes on the property, which all have been restored this year, and they are phenomenal fishing. And then we eat world class food, so it's just a tremendous time, and a great time to be away, and to kind of recenter yourselves. So that's a brief overview of the Wild Adventure. Um, like I say, it's been going on since about 2004, and the trips fill up every year. The old guys' trips fill up every year. And in 2017, we started another uh, adventure, and we call it Young Guns. And Young Guns is for guys 21 through their mid to late 30s, and 8 guys go on a trip. On Wild Adventure, there's 10 guys on a trip and 2 leaders. On Young Guns, there's 8 guys and 2 leaders. And it takes place on a 650-acre former cattle ranch that was homesteaded in the late 1800s. It's about 40 miles west of the west entrance to Yellowstone. And in fact, they filmed some Yellowstone stuff up at this ranch, because it's just classic. It's got classic old buildings that have been remodeled and all that. It sits in the middle of about 200,000 acres of Forest Service land. So when I say you're in the middle of nowhere, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell reception, there's no internet, and guys, the younger guys especially love that, because there's no doomsday scrolling. There's no just sucked into your phone, or on social media. They get to put their phones down and talk to guys, and fish, and relax, and just enjoy what's around them. So uh, We have three private fly fishing lakes on that property, and private guides that go up and help guys learn how to fly fish, and they love it. They love it. They hike, they fish, um, they eat a lot of food, but it's a great time for them. We sit around the campfire at night, and usually at night we'll sit around the campfire for a while, and then we'll get up and walk maybe 50 yards away from the campfire, and it's totally dark because there's no ambient lighting out there. And you look up and you see a billion stars, you see the Milky Way, you see planets. I mean, it's magnificent. And guys really feel restored after they finish that. They've had a chance to relax for the first time ever. They've had a chance to not be hurried, not to worry about things, not to be anxious, but just to settle in and hear guys' stories and have questions that you know lead them to different things. So that that's kind of the short version of Young Guns, but it is really a phenomenal deal that we do. I think.
Yeah, like
So
I think like what I liked most about coming down when I went was with the two things they said, like when we were telling our stories, because Kenneth, there's a part where you don't have to, but each person has 30 minutes to tell their story. Some take it serious, some don't, some are open, some are not. And I think to really get the true effect, Memphis, you really just have to be open. But the main thing they say every time we get around the campfire is, was it, we don't share anybody's story and we're not here to fix anyone, if I recall,
right.
Bruce. And I remember when I was telling mine, because obviously, like Bruce, like I told you, I didn't do the Young Guns, and that was originally what was recommended to me through who's the other guy that's a convener? He has a giant mustache, giant beard.
John Moore.
Yeah, it's John Moore. Okay.
John Moore.
So when I met John, he had highly recommended the Young Guns, and I was with my counselor, and we were all three talking, and he's like, "What are your thoughts?" And I was like, "I don't think that's a good fit for me." He's like, "Well, why?" I was like, "I really just need older men that can just mentor me, and I need people that really have messed up and that have made all the mistakes that I felt like I was going down, at least from a business and just a life standpoint as a man." And the cool thing was like obviously I was 30 or 31, yeah, 30, 31, one of the two, when I went, and obviously the next youngest was he was in his 50s.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is when I was telling my story and went through it, and obviously it was a hard thing to share a lot of stuff I shared there. So a lot of things I said I haven't really shared with anyone outside of my wife. And the coolest thing was at the very end is when George was like, "Hey, I know like all of you guys are not believers, and that's okay, but Trey's a younger guy. I really want us all to come and put hands on him and pray over him." And that was the most meaningful thing, to have
Mhm.
people when I'm sharing a lot of dark secrets and stuff that I've been ashamed of, for people not to judge, not to come force a change, maybe like, "Well, why would you do something stupid like that?" Or "What type of person are you?" But to come and pray over you, whether they believe in God or a follower or a believer or not. That was one of the coolest things. And the other cool thing out of that I felt came out of it was obviously I was the second guy out of the actual attendees that went. I felt it encouraged a lot of the other guys to be open about stuff that they weren't
Uh-huh.
going to talk about. And I know with like my trip, I believe maybe it was Mike, or I can't remember if it was Mike or George that had told me. They said it's definitely one of the bigger groups where there wasn't as many non-believers. And that was an interesting thing to see that, because not it's not common that you have a group of some believers but mainly non-believers where you can actually talk and everybody feels comfortable asking questions and talking about it, and we're not trying to fix anyone. I think that was the other cool thing is like coming out of that, I know there's a number of guys, and some of them are close friends of mine and yours, have really started to change since that trip, and I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. My question is, since you obviously convene for the older guys and then also convene and really the OG of the young gun side, What differences do you see in the younger guys that go versus the men? Do you see that the younger guys are open? They're fine with being open with their feelings and what they're struggling with, or do you find they're kind of like some of the older guys that are like boomer type age that still keep everything gatekeeping everything? What's the difference you tend to see with that?
Yeah, for the most part, the young guns open up quickly, and they answer the questions. They don't try to fix anybody, but they really feel comfortable talking about what's happening in their lives. The old guys, again, because they've been wounded and they've had years to sit on it, they've built walls, and that's where they hide. But the young guns don't feel the need to hide. The other thing about the young guns guys, the Gen Z guys, is they're smart. They're super smart, and they have good questions too. But they really listen and try to understand. They don't try to contradict. They don't try to argue. They try to understand what you're saying and then figure it out and then apply it. So that's very refreshing. But yeah, they're very bright.
Do they study Wild at Heart as well, or do they do a totally different book? How?
No, they do a different deal. We used to do Eldridge's book Epic,
Yeah.
and then I shifted, and so I wrote up things for them to read each day, 2 to 3 pages. Uh, Epic's part of it, Wild at Heart's part of it, some other guys are part of it, and so it just takes them along a different path with questions. So we start off with the what's your purpose? Why are you? And why are you here? And we talk about purpose. Then I talk about how are you here? Where'd you come from? Because everybody feels like, well, I evolved from a single cell in a pond somewhere. Well, we work through that and we ask questions about it. We look at it. Then we look at uh, who Jesus was, that he's not a religious guy, but how he treated people. Um, we look at the war that we fight when we go home and what we face when we go home. So it's uh, it's it's age appropriate.
Yeah. What do you think led you guys to want to do the Young Guns? Like, do you think part of it was like with your history being a teacher and principal? Do you think of stuff you were seeing in the schools, or what do you think led to that? Because obviously it's a newer thing.
Right, right.
You know, are still trying to build.
Yeah. One of the guys that helped start it, he and I were talking one time, and he just said, we don't really have anything for the young guys. I said, yeah, I know, and they really need it. And so we started going back and forth and talking about what to do, and decided to put a couple together and see if they worked, and they did. And but that because I was a high school principal, uh, that had a lot to do with my feelings towards that age group and how they just need some. Uh, I I wouldn't even say direction. They need well, they do need direction, but they need to find their direction. I don't need to give it to them. So
This kind of need like a gentle nudge or to know what's out
yeah, right.
there.
Some different paths that are options for them, and some logical pursuit down the lines.
No, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, Kenneth, do you have
I've got a
anything right now?
question. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question. So Trey, when you were in the spot and your counselor was like, "Hey, we need to do a men's retreat, or we're gonna check you in some place," how did you come about this place? Like, did she suggest this place, or
Oh, how did I
how
find
how
Wild
did you
Adventure? Okay.
how did you find it? Because it's like I've heard of various different types of retreats and stuff, and it's interesting too. The book Wild at Heart. That's right. Did I say that right? Wild
Yep.
at Heart.
Hmm.
The book.
Mm,
Yep.
Okay. So
Yes.
I was in a small group a few years ago. Actually, oh gosh, it's probably 6 years ago now. And a guy was talking about the book, and he was talking about this retreat. I think he actually attended it, and he's a boomer, so I'm a Gen X guy, so that's a generation ahead of me. You're behind me, Trey. And so sometimes when boomers say things, and this is not to offend you, Bruce, if you're a boomer, but sometimes I don't want to listen to what a
Thank you.
boomer
I am a boomer.
says. So sometimes I don't want to listen to what a boomer says because sometimes when I've done that in the past, it's guided me the wrong way. But when this guy was saying that he was going to potentially do this, I listened, but I didn't I just kind of stored it away for later. So when you came back to me, Trey, and you told me that you were going to go do this, and you mentioned the book, it started to kind of connect for me. So I wasn't sure if you just randomly found it, if somebody recommended it to you, or kind of also, Bruce, maybe you can chime in after Trey answers this. What is the typical, how do people typically find you? So,
So with me, so basically what it came about is like obviously I was having that sit down with with my counselor, and I think Valerie was in there too. I can't remember. I know one of the appointments she was in there when we were going through all this, and I was kind of that guy that was like on the railroad track. The train is coming right at me, but I'm running towards the train. I'm not going any direction. I'm just going nowhere. And obviously, she had mentioned like, hey, we have to inpatient you. That's one option, but the other two options was she wants some type of retreat. She felt out of everything that's going to be the best fit for me. Like out of everything. One was one with he used to be a football player. I think it's Steve Weatherford. Is that name familiar?
okay.
Maybe that's him. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember. He was doing one, but it's a weekend thing in Texas. And you go there and your workout. Basically, their goal is to break man. You're doing cold plunges. You're doing everything like that. Break man, then build them up.
Like, I'm
And she
already
asked me, "What are
broken.
your
I'm
thoughts?"
good.
Right. She asked me, she's like, "What are your thoughts?" And I said, "That's probably the worst thing to put me in." She's like, "Why?" I said, "Because I will make sure that I don't quit." I said, "That's just how my mind works. Like, I refuse to fail. I will just go." I said, "I just don't think that's going to be good for me." And she said, "Okay, well, we'll keep looking at stuff." And this is kind of before I really had went off the deep end. And like right before she had met with one of her friends who he had went to the Wild Adventure. He's a ranch hand now with
Okay.
them. And he had recommended it. And she had brought it up to me. She's like, "What are your thoughts?" And I said, "Well, my first thoughts were finances, because that's how my mind always works, was finances." But she had said, like, "Well, you've got two options. I've got the pink slip here, or you go to Montana. That's your two options. I can't keep seeing you be in this place." And I said, "Well, it looks like we're going to Montana because my two couple issues were this. One, I didn't want to be away from Valerie and the cats for that long, because once you're inpatiented with something like that, you don't know how long you're there
How long you be?
at
Yeah.
all. And I've been in scenarios like that when I was 21, 22, and I didn't want to go do it again. And second thing is obviously they just throw you on a bunch of meds. There's very little help. It's not a good place. It's not gonna have the change or effect. And the third thing was like ultimately with our business, I knew that if I were to have to be gone for 2, 3, 4, however many weeks. I mean, one of my closest friends I met, he went away on a with his stuff to do with this stuff. I think he's gone 8 to 12 weeks, and I knew that was not possible at my stage of my life. That was not possible. The business would have been trash. So I was like, well, what's the best thing? Go away for 5 days to Montana. And that's kind of how I came to the decision. It was like, what was the lesser of the evil? What is going to have a little bit more of an impact on me and going to align more with what I prefer to do with anyone or do with myself, which is not medicate things. It's like what's going to require me to do kind of the hard work and get me away from work, and some positivity. And that's where I landed on Wild Adventure. Was just simply it just happened to be the guy had went on a trip. He had said he was gonna go ranch
So
hand.
it's kind of a
My
referral
counselor
of a
was like,
referral.
"Huh, I know someone that." Yeah, as a referral, but I was her tester. She wanted to test because if it worked for me, she's like, it will probably work for just about anyone.
Right,
um,
right, right.
because that's just how I am, and that's kind of how it all came about. Yeah.
So is that what you would say, Bruce, is that it's like a
Yeah,
referral
so
thing?
we find that for most guys, it's word of mouth, and somebody knows somebody and tells them about it, and they come. For the older guys' trips, we do have guys now that take a whole week. They say we want a week, and then they fill it with guys that they know.
Okay.
The young guns, though, is pretty much word of mouth, and a lot of the older guys send their sons, son-in-laws, people that work for them. And John Eldridge gives us some publicity on his podcasts, and Hugh Hewitt also give some publicity to in what he does. And so we get some guys from that. So it's yeah, it's some of it's outside, but a lot of it is just inside information.
So I haven't.
I think part of that,
Go
Bruce,
ahead.
why I think it fills up is like, 'cause yeah.
So go ahead. I think I'm lagging. So
Do
you
you want
can go
me?
ahead and
I'll
finish
finish mine
up.
real quick.
Go
Um,
ahead.
um, why I think part of it does fill up and why the word of mouth works so well is like, because I pulled out like my book, Bruce, from my art trip is you guys have us take the time to fill out who would you tell the trip about.
Right.
And right away, I had 10 names. Kenneth was at the top, and then I had other colleagues. And one of my best friends, he's the one going with me in like 3 or 4 weeks. And I think that's the cool thing is because you guys do such a good job, and so many of us come in there broken in different ways. I think it's physically impossible that we wouldn't know at least one person that would benefit from there. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's why it does work so well. It's not so much an advertising thing. I think it solely is an organic build where you guys just do such a good job that there's really no need to do any crazy advertising. And I think that's why the older group is always full.
Hmm.
And I think with the younger group, it's just going to keep taking time to keep building it. And that's something like I've told you, Bruce, my goal is to eventually ranch hand and then maybe wingman or something down the road. Like that's something like I want to make sure other guys that were around my age aren't struggling with what I was struggling with or have people in their corner. Um, but yeah, Kenneth, what were you saying? What was your,
So my internet looks like it might be lagging. So bear with me, or if you can tell me if I'm clear.
you good?
Do I sound okay? Okay. So
You're good.
I'm at the beach with my family, so this is why my internet's off. But anyway, the the question that I really have, Bruce, is so essentially Trey, myself, and you are kind of in the same business. We're in this business of people, and when we work with people that maybe they have a health issue, maybe they have an autoimmune issue, maybe they have hormone issues, or maybe they're just trying to lose body fat, whatever the case is, they're essentially trying to heal and return back to the basis of how we're designed. And essentially, I would imagine you have a bunch of broken guys who are sort of living in this life, and it's a difficult place to live. We're living in a world that we're really not made for, and there's a common denominator, I would imagine, across all men who attend the retreat, because I kind of see it, and you can speak to this, but in my own experience with my own healing journey and my own relationship with Christ, I could boil it down to when I was at my worst, at my lowest, I had an identity problem. And I'm curious if you see sort of a common denominator thing that's broken in the men that you work with that starts to get restored through the process of going on the retreat. Because as I'm working with individuals and we're fixing their health or whatever we're doing, we're also changing their identity, and they're no longer an unhealthy person. They're thing that we're trying to change so that they're better. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
So, do you see a common denominator on your end? And if you do, what is it?
Probably. Um, the most common denominator, especially among the older guys, is a father wound. Most of them were wounded at some point, not intentionally necessarily, sometimes intentionally by their dads. Either they didn't get any attention, they were harassed, uh, whatever, and they looked to their father for support, for love, and it didn't happen, and so they're broken. And the interesting thing about us is, yes, people heal, but we're not like a doctor where you come in and we give you a prescription and everybody gets treated the same. Everybody's an individual,
Sure.
and everybody has different needs, even though they have similar needs, but everybody's unique. They're created uh, to be unique people. And so we try to leave it open enough to where you can go down the path that Christ is taking you down because you are a unique individual. So we don't have a prescription. We don't have you do, everybody does this. No, we ask questions. We let guys lead along, and we have discussions and just try to help them navigate where they're going.
So
If
when it
that makes
comes to
sense.
that, though, yeah, sure. I guess in my own journey and my walk with Christ, what's been the biggest thing for me to understand, and it's probably the most refining thing, is that my identity is in Him. And so when I look at my identity and I look at the way that He views me, and He views me as a son of the Most High King, a man who is
Hmm.
loved, a man who is seen, a man who is known, understood. I think the most secure relationship we can have as men is the relationship we have with our Creator. And so when you're in a secure relationship for the first time and you've never experienced that, and you were talking about that father wound, I had a father wound as well. And so there's an insecurity there because I was not seen, I was not heard, I was not understood, I was not
Hmm.
cared for, I was not loved. Whatever list of inadequacies my father had that were that essentially impacted me, which also my identity got built around what I saw.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yes. Mm. Uh-huh. Hmm. Yes. Yeah, and it comes back to what Trey had mentioned. We're not there to fix anybody. And so
So
again,
again, we don't. Right.
we don't prescribe, we don't expect guys to do certain things. We try to get them to relax and just take it in and and be a part of a relationship with God and let Him speak to us. It's we're all sheep, and we don't realize that. We all think we're leaders. We're all sheep, and our shepherd leads us and gives us everything we need. And so it's up to us to accept that, to feel happy about laying down in green pastures, to feel happy about going by still waters. That's how our soul gets restored, is by letting Christ lead us and not us lead him. So,
Do you have any questions, Kenneth? Anything?
yeah, yes.
We'll see if he pops back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably out. We'll see if he comes back, but we'll talk in general while we wait for him. Um, Geez, what was I going to ask? Um,
Right.
some that got cut off just a little bit.
Yes. Well, and that's one of yeah, that's one of the beauties of the Wild Adventure is it takes place in one of the most gorgeous places ever. I mean, just sitting out on the deck looking at the mountains and all that is ridiculously beautiful, and that works to settle your soul some, to be in God's creation and to see it unaffected by humans. It really settles your soul, and yeah, I'm so grateful for that stuff.
It's something about being out there, Bruce. I don't know how to explain it. Like I would say it's one of the few times that I've actually felt I've heard God.
Hmm.
Because I know like towards the end they did the same thing. Like take 30 minutes to go sit. Don't talk to anyone. Don't be on your phones. Don't do anything like that. And I remember it was actually on Father's Day, so it would have been right a year, and God had talked to me about some stuff I had been dealing with, and it's one of the few times I've felt I've been able to forgive myself with some of my mistakes and less than ideal decisions.
Yeah.
My younger 20s, I think that's like one of the coolest things, but I think forcing you to be away from everything and just to be in nature and be with other people and just be away from your phone and be away from work and chaos. There's something healing about that. And I think I mentioned on my trip, like I get this like nervous Tourette's like tick when I get stressed, and that whole week was the first time in probably 6 or 7 years, however long it's been, that I had none of them, and it really allowed me to take a step back and realize how much my day to day stress and my day to day struggles are having a negative impact on my health. And I know when I came back, it was probably the happiest I'd been in a really long time in terms of like, if it wasn't with my wife, but happy with life in general. There was just something about being out there. Like the food is amazing. The fishing, Kenneth, like even if you don't know how to fly fish, there's not a single person that doesn't catch something
Right.
the entire trip. And it's just a really cool trip, whether you're on the river or when you're fish in the ponds. Like Bruce, someone had told me that y'all had restocked the ponds and everything, so I'm pumped to
Yeah.
see how that looks this year. I probably won't wade in it, Kenneth. I don't know if I told you this. So you get waders and stuff, and take I think I was 30, so everybody else is like 50s and 60s. So I should be the athletic one there, and I'm the only one that fell in the pond
Yeah.
and got waders full of water. I was like, I will never wade again my entire life. Um, But no, it's a really cool trip and it's a really great place. Kenneth, before I end with like a last couple questions, do you have any questions at all? Yeah. I think he cut out again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we would love to have you up there, Kenneth. One of the things that gets eliminated at the Moose and at Young Guns is hurry. And hurry and busyness are, according to Dallas Willard, are the greatest enemies of our spiritual lives today. Busyness is the greatest enemy of our spiritual life today because we rush, 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 rush. Oh, I got to get this done. I got to get that. Oh, I didn't. Oh, wait. Yeah, and we never take time to stop and to think. And when you look at Jesus, 3 mile an hour Jesus, when he's on his way to heal Jairus's daughter, and he's surrounded by a crowd of people who are cheering for him and bumping into him, and some lady touches his robe, and he says, "Who touched me?" And the disciples are like, "You're an idiot. There are 100 people, 1,000 people around you touching you. What are you talking about?" And Jesus says, "No, who touched me?" And the woman comes up, and he spends time listening to the 12 years that she suffered at the hands of many doctors. And that's what Jesus did. As he was walking along, if there was a guy with leprosy, if there was a deaf guy, a blind guy, whatever, Jesus stopped and just listened and spent as much time as he needed to. And that's what Montana's about. It's about spending as much time as we need to watch guys heal. It's not about hurrying people. It's not about shoving them into things. It's about stopping and listening and loving them.
Yeah, I agree. So to close it out, Bruce, because I want this to be the last thing, um, who is Wild Adventure in Montana for, and why should they go there?
It is for pretty much everybody. And whether you're uh, damaged or whether you're in good shape, it has something to say to you. Every guy comes away from both of the trips, both Young Guns and Wild Adventure, with something because God speaks to them and God has things for them. And all of us are damaged at one level or another. We may not think so, but we all have things that need healing and need attention. And so to spend time with God in private and then with other guys is a very um, healing aspect.
I agree. Yeah, I appreciate what you guys do. I'm pumped to go there in a few weeks, catch up with you guys, and
Yeah,
just a very important place for me. It'll always be something I will always refer people to. Because I'll say it to today, it literally changed my life. It's one of the most important places and most important things that's happened in my life. So if someone was interested, obviously it's already booked up for the year, but I think Young Guns has some availability.
yes.
Where can someone find more information? Where can they connect with you guys if they have further questions and that type of thing?
Go to the website, www.twa.us, and you'll get some information there. You can sign up for Young Guns, and then I will call you, and I will call whoever you sign up for Young Guns, and we can chat about it. And if it sounds interesting to you, you can stay on, and if not, you don't have to. But yeah, just go on the website and get started that way.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man. It means a lot to me, and I can't wait to see you about
Yeah.
4 weeks.
Thanks for letting me ramble on. I appreciate it.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Awesome.
and I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, safe travels. I hope the first couple groups go well, and then
Thanks.
if you need anything, just reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you in a few weeks, buddy.
Great. Thank you, Trey.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.